Okay, so originally, this was gonna be a video on Tyler, the Creator. One of my favorite artists, for sure. One who I talk about a lot, who I bump a lot. Love that guy. But then I couldn't really find the words to say for some reason. And I gave up on the idea very quickly. And then I... excuse me. And then I looked at my phone for topic ideas that I jotted down fucking ages ago. And one of them, the title was Mechanics Are Everything. I'm not exactly sure what I meant by that when I wrote it down. I think what I meant is this idea that I've talked about before, but not that much. That you have a game. You have a game, a video game. Oh my god, video games, dude. Okay. See, the easiest point of comparison that I always like, and see, my buddy Bjorn made the same comparison in a recent stream of his for Vanquish. Shit, I think I made the same comparison though. I forget, like, I think in a stream or something I said something like that, where basically Hideki Kamiya, my favorite director, he's very good at expressive mechanics, right? Just crafting characters that can do interesting things. You can put most of his characters in like a bland room and give them a sandbag, and then they can do interesting shit, right? And that's like inherently kind of fun to play with. Whereas with someone like Shinji Mikami, creator of Resident Evil, and like Kamiya's mentor essentially, sorry. What he aims for is like crafting interesting situations instead. So your character can, yeah, they have like a pretty, I say like way too much, sorry. And I say sorry a lot as well, I'm noticing. They have a pretty basic moveset. You look at Leon and RE4, right? Leon on his own can't really do anything. He can just aim and shoot. Now what the game does is it confronts you with these constantly varied situations where you have to make decisions very quickly based on these very simple mechanics. You use the same thing, like aiming and shooting, to do a billion different things, right? You shoot at a guy's leg to set him up for a suplex, for example, right? And the suplex, wait, yeah, I mean in the later part of the game where you're in the fucking castle area, that's where you can do the suplex. I guess it's just a variation of the fucking of the roundhouse kick that you can normally do. Wait, actually, yeah, the kick is slightly different. Well, Leon kind of bends his knees more and stuff, yeah. The point I'm making is that, that will enable some kind of context-sensitive action, right? And then, I don't know, you can use the same mechanic, the shooting, to, get items from, like, crows and shit. The game generally does just a lot with interesting weak spots, and, like, the way the enemies are positioned, and you have to, like, yeah, think about the size of the arena and like the positioning of the enemies and the way the enemies move in the context of your own movement, which again, there's not that much to it, but it's still interesting. The reason the game works is because it doesn't run out of ideas for situations, right? I'd say with some of Kamiya's later games like God Hand and Vanquish, it's a little more fluid, like the distinction is not as clear. But yeah, like, those are definitely the two ends of the spectrum that I would identify. And yeah, and then, well, yeah, I said, so Kamiya is like on the other end of the spectrum, right? Even that's not completely true, right? I mean, I'd say DMC 3 and 4, and 5 are even more expressive games and even more kind of dynamic and free-flowing and chaotic. And in the case of 3 and 4, I'd almost say they're a little bit too chaotic for my taste. Like, they're a little bit too loose. Loose is like my favorite word to use in this context, yeah. Like, it's great that they're so loose, but at the same time, I like Bayonetta because it has just a little bit of structure and a little bit of a goal in how you fight. I'm realizing now that the file for this audio is still called Tyler. Still named Tyler, that's funny. Maybe I'll just upload it like this, huh, as a meme. Sorry, also I still have kind of a cold. So despite what I just said, right, that I prefer Bayonetta because it has slightly more structure, and generally I guess that's the case with Kamiya. For me, he strikes the perfect balance between there's some kind of way you need to play the game, but also it's very flexible and very creative. I still was always on the side of, yeah, I like mechanics. I think back to now how I played fucking Mario 64 as a kid, and how I would just play Bob-omb Battlefield over and over again and just jump around because it was so fun. When I think back to my whole sort of history as a gamer, to put it in the most corny way imaginable, I think I really always did look for that. I always looked for games that were just inherently kind of fun to play, you know? Where doing certain things just feels good. Or not even just feels good. I think, yeah, I think we care a little bit too much about, like, stuff like surface level feeling good, in quotation marks. God, what's a good example of that? Oh, fuck, Mark Brown did this video on Celeste. Why Celeste feels so good to play, right? And Celeste is cool, great game. But it does bother me a little bit that... Oh, no, an even better example is the Shovel Knight video he did recently. Yeah, where... Fuck, that's the best example, actually. Oh my god. Why didn't I talk about that sooner? So, he analyzes the 4 different characters that Shovel Knight has, like, received over its runtime, right? So we had Shovel Knight, we had Plague Knight, we had Spectre Knight, and King Knight. And, Mark did a vote, basically asking, yeah, which is your favorite? And Spectre Knight got the most votes. And to me, that is like, so, I don't want to dog on anyone who voted Spectre Knight and who thinks that that's the best game of the 4, right? But it's like, man, it really is exemplary, I can't speak. It's exemplary to me how a lot of people will just look at kind of the surface level, like, satisfaction, right? Like, oh, running along a wall just looks cool and feels cool, and that's why I like it. Even though you can't really, there's not that much depth to it, right? Whereas with Plague Knight, it doesn't, yeah, like, on the surface level, it feels super awkward to control him, and, like, you need to appreciate it in a different way, I think, yeah. Like, I guess it's like the same with people who don't really appreciate Sonic games, for example. Sonic, like the classic Sonic games. That there's like momentum and there's a feel to how Sonic moves, and you kind of, it's like, it feels dynamic, it feels chaotic, it feels loose, you know? It doesn't feel, yeah, with Spectre Knight is the perfect example, right? You interact with different objects in the stage in these really predefined, rigid kind of ways. So you see a wall, and you jump against the wall, and you run up the wall in the exact way that the developers want you to. And the same thing with all the fucking... You have the little, like, the things in the air that, like, float. The grapple shit, right? The grapple points. You, jump toward them, press the button, and then you do this fixed animation and stuff. Like, I can see why that feels good to people, right? Like, that feels smooth and slick and, like, you know, yeah, I guess that's the word, you know, it feels smooth, it feels like it's kind of frictionless, like it just works. I guess that's why, yeah, another great example is the fucking, so I was gonna mention a game in this series earlier, but the Spider-Man PS4 game, right? It's very clear that with that game, Insomniac's goal was to just make it as not frustrating as possible, to just make it really easy to look cool. And I think that's fine, but like, I don't know, I also think it's, to me, it just loses its appeal very quickly. I just think it's, yeah, compared to the game I was gonna mention, Spider-Man 2, the movie game. It's very boring, you go through the same patterns a lot, it feels kind of automated, it feels, again, not dynamic, not loose, it feels very, again, I guess rigid, right? Whereas with Spider-Man 2, you have physics, you have fucking the speed and the angle with which I hit the wall will determine sort of how I wall run. And then I can bounce off that, and just the angle with which I swing has so much weight, right? And yeah, Spider-Man 2 as a kid was one of my favorite games because I just liked how dynamic it felt and how it wasn't always the same, right? I could just never get enough of it. And really, so now I'm at a point where sort of my tastes are so solidified where I'm like, yeah, that's the thing I look for in games, right? This, like, the sense of, like, looseness and that it's dynamic and that it's replayable as well. That it can use a mechanic and get better at the mechanic, right? Not just learning the level and getting better at the level or something. That's also something I talk about a lot. I think fucking Hitman was a good example where I respect it a lot. I see the appeal of it completely. When I played it, I just realized very quickly it wasn't for me. It very much was about learning where everything is and then manipulating that to your advantage. It is dynamic in a way. It is an immersive sim, right? But your character can't do anything that interesting, right? And a friend of mine on Twitter, Crummy Curmudgeon, shout out to you if you're watching this. He put it really well by saying, I compared Hitman to Metal Gear Solid 5 and sort of explained why I prefer MGS5. In MGS5, you're the one exerting the mechanics, right? You're the one exerting the influence. Whereas in Hitman, you kind of have to see a thing and then understand how to use it. They're both different things, and they appeal to sort of different sensibilities, but yeah, like I said, I just vastly prefer the MGS5 end of the spectrum. And yeah, Hitman is one of those cases where I can actually respect it and like see sort of the value of this kind of school of design, you know? Whereas with something like Spectre Knight, it's like, ugh, really, like, is this the goal, you know? Is this like what we should be aiming for with games? Because Plague Knight to me is so much more fucking fun to play. Like, I feel so liberated. I feel like I feel like, I mean, I guess I'm gonna repeat myself, right? But I'm the one who gets to exert the influence. I'm the one who gets to decide how fast I move through the level, you know? I'm not, there's a fucking word I'm looking for. So I typed a held back synonym into the thesaurus. Repressed, stifled, suppressed, bottled up, no. It's like I'm not, it's like I want to say the level doesn't get to do the work for me. I'm not something by the level, kind of. Fuck, what's the word? Hang on. Okay, I think I got it. So I typed in reliant synonym now. And there's stuff like, see, I was thinking liable to. Liable to is great, I think. I'm not liable to the level, but I guess the best one I found is subservient to the level design. You know? I'm not Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. You know, I'm not. The level is the canvas, you know, and I get to fucking put the paint wherever I want. I guess that's also why I like Crash Team Racing so much, you know, because I can just boost wherever. You can drift on a straight lane. The controls are so loose that they let you do that, and that's actually advantageous. That's so fucking dope. Oh my god, what a game. And yeah, like the reaction to Plague Knight specifically, and like just people saying, oh, I mean, that's the whole reason why they made Spectre Knight the way he was, you know, because people didn't like Plague Knight. And I think that's very sad, and it's just, yeah, I think it just shows a lot of things about gaming culture right now, that we look for the most surface level sort of fucking, oh, I don't know, approximation of an idea, you know? You have a game like God of War that gets praised for its level design and its combat, even though it does both things in like a super basic ass fucking way. Because we're not really used to, yeah, that sounds kind of mean, but like, I was gonna say, we're not really sort of conditioned to think about it in this like super deep way, you know? We're not, a lot of people don't have the stomach for older games or more challenging games or games that require a little bit of a learning curve. We don't have the patience, right, to really think about those mechanics and compare them. But yeah, I don't know. I just know that that's what I look for. First and foremost, I look for something that I can inherently kind of master, and then apply those skills anywhere, and like be consistently good at the game. To me, that's like true replayability and true depth, I guess. Yeah. So I've been talking for 20 minutes. That actually feels like a good amount of time. Sorry, I'm mumbling a lot today. Holy fuck. And I feel like I've made my points, but I don't know. I want to believe there's more to it than what I said. I guess that's why, yeah, I'm thinking. So I'm gonna reveal a little bit of a secret. It's not that much of a secret, but there's like 2 games I want to make right now. 2 games that I have in mind. One is an RPG. Like a really good RPG, basically. I'm not gonna talk that much about it, but the other one is a 3D platformer. Because I just want that itch scratched, right? I want that Mario 60. I want to create that feeling that Mario 64 gives me. Because yeah, Mario 64 is like a perfect example of not just a game with really deep, fun, engaging mechanics, but then also the game is built in such a way that it takes really good advantage of the mechanics. Because obviously it's still kind of a two-way street. I'm not saying, yeah, like I said, oh, you can give me a sandbag in DMC and I'm gonna have fucking fun for ages. Yes, that's true, but also I do still want like a game built around it, ideally. I'm thinking. I just thought of so much shit I could say. Fuck. Yeah. Still want a game to be built around it, and Mario 64 is a great example of levels that feel they're just perfect. That's just the perfect amount of open-endedness and looseness, but also there is a structure. It's not like Sunshine where it's just a big fucking square map with nothing in it. Yeah. And Odyssey has the right idea as well. Like, they make you use the mechanics in interesting ways. If you were so inclined, right? You can also just play it in a straightforward way. And that's fun too. But yeah. So what I was just gonna say is that you look at the popularity of the of combo videos for, or like, yeah, I think there's a reason why Breath of the Wild clips are still sort of blowing up 3 years on. I mean, we're on the 3-year anniversary of the Switch and of Breath of the Wild today, in fact. Great coincidence. You still see clips from the game blowing up every single day, because the mechanics just allow for it. The mechanics allow for this level of expression, and there is a point to it. You know, it's not just fluff that you don't have. I hate this idea of like, oh yeah, the game has deep mechanics, but you don't have to use them, quote unquote. That's not the point, you know? You shouldn't have to use mechanics, right? The idea is that the mechanics are so appealing and fun to use and built in such a way where you feel like it makes sense to use them. Like you're incentivized and like you get some kind of benefit out of them, or like it just makes you feel good, you know? One of those things. To me, that's the ideal of a video game. That's why I always like, yeah, I always hate this idea of saying, oh yeah, when you're playing on like a higher difficulty, you're like forced to use this, and that's like super cool. Or like, oh, the game never forced me to do that, so it's like lame. I don't like the word forced. I like the word reward, right? To reward the player for doing something. Like theoretically, I can get through the highest difficulty in Bayonetta in the completely wrong way, like in the exact way that the developers don't want me to play, right? But through the scoring system, for example, that's sort of a way to nudge me in the right direction. Basically, they're rewarding me for figuring out how to play it and for being creative. I feel smart for having used the whole moveset, you know? Yeah, and I guess, fuck, this whole dichotomy that I've talked about, like, oh, you wanna, like people just wanna feel cool, that explains stuff like the color coding and DMC, right? Because in that sense, you are forced to use certain tactics, right? And to apply the mechanics in the exact way that the developers want you to, right? And the reason they do it is because for a lot of people, the point isn't the thought process, oh, I have all these tools, and then I need to think about how I use them. Just the fact the game is telling me to switch to the red weapon, and then I'm doing that, and oh, I get results from that. That already makes a lot of people feel smart, you know? That makes people feel like there is variety in the game. And I've had conversations with people saying, yeah, I like DMC because I actually had to use all my weapons. But that's the thing, like having to use all your weapons in this kind of shoehorned way, is that really valuable? Does that make the game more interesting? I don't think so. I think it's a really lazy way to introduce variety, and it shows way more confidence in the player to just let them apply the tools in the way they see fit. That doesn't mean that the tools shouldn't have obvious uses and stuff, but like it's a fluid thing, you know? It's supposed to be, again, we come back to this word, loose. I don't know, to me that's just like why, fuck, that's the whole reason why I'm so about action games, you know, and not you know, other genres like RPGs and stuff. RPGs can be great, but they do inherently like the whole idea of, oh, I have different stats, right, and the stats play off of each other in certain ways. That inherently makes the game a little bit more rigid, you know? And like the fact that RPGs are so much about growth over time, it implicitly kind of means that your choices sort of evolve in a very linear way. I guess Pokemon is like and SNT are good exceptions because the whole premise of those games means you have a lot of choices at the very start, right? But a lot of RPGs are like, okay, you dole out the abilities, you have a very set amount of abilities, and then the enemies are designed in such a way where they only really work with certain abilities in mind. And yeah, that just doesn't hit me in the same way. Like I said, to me, something like a Devil May Cry, that school of design to me is like just the gods tier, you know? That's like the pinnacle of what a game could be, and it's the best. Am I exaggerating right now? Does that sound like hyperbole? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, ring the bell, click subscribe if you haven't. Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess that's the end of the video. Maybe this is the shortest one yet. The shortest Patreon video I've done. It's kind of rushed as well, I'm sorry. I need to leave the house soon, yeah. I'm kind of cold and I'm mumbling a lot. I apologize. I hope this was still enjoyable. Yeah. More streams next week, probably. Hopefully. Hope you enjoyed last night's stream. Yeah. Goodbye.